Hey John D, how are you? My name is Everson and welcome to our first lesson here. This is our trial run. So what I want you to take away from this particular lesson is that I want to make you a self-study learner, meaning I want to teach you how to be able to study on your own and be able to succeed, whether it's this mathematics in grade 7 or whether you are in university later on in life or high school or any other time that you're going to study. So the system that I use to assist students to learn to study is called the STEP study system. STEP stands for syllabus, textbook, and exam practice. Syllabus is usually given to teachers, but most teachers don't share syllabuses with their students. But hopefully, since you are following a system through Curro, or like we agreed, Curro, the textbook will act as the syllabus as well, meaning all the topics in the textbook you're supposed to do, because that's basically what the syllabus does. It informs you what you're supposed to study, and then the textbook helps you study the things that you're supposed to study, meaning it teaches you. So the textbook that you are given is a very excellent textbook. I like it. And then within that textbook there are a lot of exercises. Now when we're done with going through everything in the textbook, we now need to be on a weekly basis, you need to find past papers from your school for grade 7 so that you can start using them to see, okay, with the topics that I've done so far, am I able to do them on my own? All right, so let's not waste too much time. Let's try to dig into the lesson. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to move my right, there you go. I think this looks beautiful. So we start, go to the beginning. Yeah. All right, so this is the topic that we are supposed to learn. So it won't take us so much time. We'll go through it step by step. I'll do 1 or 2 exercises depending on the question so that I can see if the concept is enough. Then you select any one question to do from the remaining ones. You can do more, but all I want is 1. For each exercise, you will need to do at least 1 extra question of your choice, and then if you want to do more, that will be fine. So at the end of the lesson, you should be able to pick 1 question from each exercise, do it on a piece of paper, and then WhatsApp the answers, the whole working to me. That will be the exercise for what we have done today. So let's start with ratio and rate. What is ratio? So think of ratio in a very simple way, like sharing, right? Whenever you just talk about ratio, you are just talking about sharing in some form of units, right? In some form of portion, if I can say. All right. So for instance, you have soccer boots. So you have 10 pairs, and you and your friends, they are different. There's Nike, there's Reebok, there's different ones, but you're going to share in any ratio that your coach desires. So if you are very good friends, you can say you're going to share equally. So in that case, it means you'll be sharing 5 versus 5, 5 and 5. So in that case, what then will be our ratio? If you share 5 to 5, all right, if you share 5 to 5, you get 5 boots, the other guy gets 5 boots. It means you are sharing in the ratio of 5 is to 5. So the ratio number, it's something that you can pick any number depending on how many things you have. So that's usually the starting point. How many things do you have, and in what portion do you want to share? So if, let's say now you are grade 7 and you want to share the boots with a senior, or let's say the size of the shoes. So you weigh up to maybe size 2, but there are only 2 size 2s and the rest are above size 2. So which means you are only able to take 2 and the other people will get 8. So now in that case, the ratio becomes 2:8. So you can always come up with the ratios yourself, but of course in any question it will be given what ratio to use, right? So now these ratios, as you can see them, 5:5 and 2:8, they are not in their simplest form. You can simplify it, right? How do you simplify it? It means it's the same as saying, okay, what is the factor of 5 and 5? It's 5. So if you divide by 5, you get 1:1. So it means for every one pair of boots your friend gets, you get 1. Here, when you said only 2 can fit your feet and the rest 8 you can't fit, if we have to simplify this one, it becomes the factor here, the highest common factor is 2, because 2 goes into 2 and 2 goes also into 8. So it becomes 2 into 2, it's ones. 2 into 8, it's 4. So in this case, your ratio is 1:4. So for every pair of boots you get, the other person gets 4 pairs. Now, it doesn't get limited to only 2 things. Ratio can be for so many people. So let's say you bought 2 pizzas. So a pizza has got how many? 8 slices. So you have 5 of you and you want to share. So one gets 2, 3, 1, that's 5, 6. So we still have 14 pieces. We have 5, we have 9. So that's 2 pieces of pizza and they've been shared among 5 people. So that ratio can also work. 2 slices, 3 slices, 1 slice, 5 slices, and 9 slices. In this particular ratio, as you can see, there is no common factor, so you can't simplify it. You see, there's nothing we can do with this ratio. We leave it as it is. But the point I'm illustrating is that ratio works whether you're dealing with 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, whatever the number of people. You are just showing the proportion that each person is getting, meaning what share and what share. All right, so now let's look at our textbook, what it's saying. All right, so exercise 1, we want to deal with sharing in a ratio. So they said every time Bongi takes 3 cookies from the cookie jar, he must give 7 cookies to the older brother Vusi. Copy and complete the table. So we want to see if we can complete this particular table. So they said copy and complete. So we copy. Copy. All right, so if we look at our table here, that's exercise 1. If we look at our table here, we have number of cookies for Bongi and number of cookies for Vusi. So we have been told that the ratio is 3:7. Right. Now, if we try to say, okay, so if you get 6, we can't say 14 because since this one has been multiplied by 2, but here we see it was just 3 added, but doesn't mean the pattern will be the same, right? So what we have to do is to see here, going this way, what pattern is there? So we can see that it's a add 3, right? So obviously if we add 3 here, it becomes 12. If we add 3 here, it becomes 15. If we add 3, it becomes 18. So if we add 3, it becomes 21. So that is very clean. Now if you look at these numbers here, we don't know what is here We don't know what is here, so we can't figure out based on just looking at this one and the next one. But if we look at 7, 28 and 49, something is very familiar. You have done mathematical tables and you told me you love them. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 34, 41, 49, all of that are multiples of 7. So we want multiples of 7 here. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 28 plus 7 is 35. 35 plus 7, next multiple is 42. 42 plus 7 is 49. So very easy. So that's finished completing our table just based on looking at the pattern of the numbers. Right, let's see what is required of us next. Now, how many cookies must Vusi get okay, so let's take Alright, so the next question says, how many cookies must Vusi get if Bongi gets 24 cookies? Explain how you worked out your answer. So Bongi is 24 cookies. So if we look at our table here, Bongi is here. But at Bongi we're ending at 21. So if we add 3 here, what do we get? We get 24. So immediately here from 49 we add 7, it becomes 56. So that's one way of finding the answer. So how many cookies will Vusi get if Bongi takes 24? So Vusi will get 56. By continuing with the pattern on the table. That's one way, that's how to explain how you got the answer. Or, how else can you get the answer? What if we use the ratio? So that's way number 1. Let's look at way number 2. Our ratio says, Bongi 3, Vusi 7. Right? Now, we want, remember, this is Bongi and this is Vusi. Alright? So, Bongi 3, Vusi 7. Right? So now we are told that Bongi goes 24. So here, he goes 24. So how much must Vusi get? So we know our ratio is 3:7. So from 3 to end up being 24, how much did we multiply our 3? Alright? 3 times 8. There was 3 times 8 gives us 24. Alright? What about if we say 7 times 8 gives us 56? So that's another way of getting how much Vusi will get, by using the ratio. Okay, how did the ratio transform from 3? Because the initial ratio we're given is 3:7, but now we know Bongi got 24. So how did 3 become 24? It was through multiplication. So we also multiply the value of Vusi, which is 7 times 8 as well, to give us 56. So that's 2 ways of getting answer to part 2. There are 100 cookies in a medium tin. How many will Bongi get and how many will Vusi get if they share out the cookies? Alright, so now we share. Remember, 100 in tin. So Vusi is sharing. We start with, always when you are dealing with ratio, always start with what they say. Bongi is to Vusi. So 3:7. So anytime you start sharing, the first thing, the first step is always to add the ratio. Add. So 3 plus 7 equals to 10. So the total of the ratio is 10. So Bongi is getting 3 portions out of the total of 10 portions. And you are getting it from 100 cookies. Vusi is getting 7 portions out of 10 from that 100 as well. Alright? So without using a calculator, we know this cancels that. 10 times 3 is 30 cookies. This cancels that. 10 times 7 is 70 cookies. That's how you share in a ratio. Whether you're in grade 7 now or even when you go to university, this is the same way you're going to be doing it. And I can tell you, when I was in first year at UNAM, I worked out a question like this. So look at that, how nice it is to learn something now that we use for the next, I don't know how many years. So that's how you share ratio. First thing, always, I'll put an NB. Always when you're sharing a ratio, first find the total and then you can share. Now number 4 says there are 300 cakes in a large tin. How many will Bongi get and how many will Vus get if they share out the cookies? So we do exactly the same thing, only that the number here, instead of 100, it's now 300. So you can start over, or you can make it a shortcut. But let's just do the correct way. So Bongi will still get 3 out of 10, but now from 300. Vusi will still get 7 out of 10, but now from 300. So now we cancel this one and that one. 30 times 3, you get 90 cookies. Right? And then also this one, that one, 30 times 7 is 210 cookies. Right, so that's how you share in a ratio. So it doesn't matter what question comes, you will be able to do it. So let's see if we need to do another question. Okay. So from exercise 1, there was only one question. So we take question 1 from exercise 2 because it covers almost everything that we need. And then you can choose one to do on your own. So the question says, Vuyo and Zinhle work together as a team. Vuyo is more qualified, Vuyo, so he's paid 120 per hour, and Zinhle is paid $40 per hour, 40 rand. Now, first question says, write down the ratio between Vuyo's wage and Zinhle's wage in its simplest form. So like I said, always make sure who is first. Vuyo is number 1 and Zinhle is number 2. So Vuyo and Zinhle's wage. So Vuyo's wage is 120 is to Zinhle's wage is 40. So if it was Zinhle's wage in as a ratio of Vuyo's wage, it would switch. It would become 40 is to 120. So it's very important to put the order that they asked, right? Don't say let's start with the small one or let's start with the big one. Always just follow the order that they tell you. Now, we did how to deal with simplest form. We look at the common factor, what number goes into 120 and 40. So we know, if you are not sure, since you are not using a calculator, you can always start with 10, because 10 cancels out the zeros. All right, so let's say divide by 10, you get 12 is to 4, but we can see it can still be simplified. So now it's simple. 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 12 3 times. So your ratio is 4 is to 1. That's your answer. Then we look at number 2. Vuyo is paid 600, right? Vuyo is paid 600 for a particular job. What is Zinhle's paid? Explain how you worked out your answer. So now that we have our ratio, it becomes easy, and you meet a lot of questions like this, where if you know the portion in which people are sharing, and then they tell you the amount that one person got, you should be able to calculate the amount that the other person got. So it's always good, like we said, when we are sharing a total, I told you first add the ratios to get a total, and then based on that total you can share them. So it's the same thing, it's the same technique that you're going to use here. So the first thing is that we know that Vusi is to Zinhle is 3 is to 1. If we add 3 plus 1, we know the total between them is 4. Now, we are told that Vusi remember Vusi gets 3 parts, and his 3 parts were equivalent to the amount he got, which is 600, right? So we want to know, if 3 parts are 600, what was 1 part? So we divide by 3. So 1 part is 300 into 600 is 200. Okay, so as you can see, 1 part in this ratio represents 200, and we know that Zinhle is only getting 1 part, so therefore Zinhle gets we come again, we said we know Vusi and Zinhle is 3 is to 1. 3 plus 1 gives you 4 parts. But we know Vusi, who is getting the 3 from this ratio, got 600 rands. So that 3 parts, these 3 parts from the share, remember ratio represents the portion the person is sharing, is getting from the share. He's getting 3 parts out of the 4, which is equivalent to 600. So if we divide by 3, those 3 parts, we will be able to know what is the value of 1 part. our one is not looking nice. 1 part. So 3 into 600, you get 200. So since Zinhle got 1 part, it means he got equivalent of 200. All right. So that's how you deal with a question whereby you know the ratio, you know what one person got, and you want to find out what the other person or the other 2 or the other 10 people got. It doesn't matter how the remaining. As long as you have the ratio and you also have the amount that one got, you'll be able to share throughout by first getting what does 1 part represent, and then you multiply by whatever the other people got. Meaning if Zinhle's share was 2 instead of 1, we're going to say 200 times 2, which means 400. Going on like that. Let's go to part C. All right. Part C says Zinhle is paid 280 for the particular job. What is Vuyo paid? Write a number sentence that you can use to work out your answer. All right. So in this case, they want us to use a sentence, a number sentence. Okay. It doesn't matter. Again, we go on to say Vusi is to Zinhle. We know it's 3:1. So now you are told that Zinhle got, which is 1 part, he got 280. So we know Vuyo, who is 3 parts, is going to be 280 times 3. That's the number sentence. 280 times 3. And then we get our answer. 280 times 3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 8, 24. 4. Bring it 2. 3 times 2, 6 plus 2, 8. So Vuyo got 840 rand. Is that clear? Once you get the ratio and you know the portion of one person, you should be able to get the other one easy. Let's look at D. D says Vuyo and Zinhle together earn 640 for a job. How much should each one get? So remember now, together they get 640. Together they got 640. So remember, it's Vuyo, Zinhle, 3:1. So together we find the total. It's 3 plus 1. They are sharing 4 parts. All right. So now we know that this 640 represents 4 parts. Okay. So we want to know what does 1 part represent. So we divide by 4. So we do short division. 4 into 6, 1, remainder 2. 4 into 24, it's 6, 0. So 1 part is 160. So now Vusi, we know he has 3 parts. So his share will be 3 times 160, which will give us how many rands? 480 rand. Okay, Zinhle is getting 1 part, which means it's 1 times 160, which remains as 160. So whenever now they are together, that's where we introduce our total, because it becomes, we know the ratio is 3:1. When you get total, you get 3 plus 1, which is 4 parts. So this amount of together, it represents 4 parts. So we divide by the number of parts, which is 4, so that we know what does 1 part represent. And we found out that 1 part represents 160. Once we have that, we can now share. Vusi gets 3 parts, so 3 times 160 gives you 480. Zinhle get 1 part, so 1 times 160, which is just 160. I hope that is fine. E says, is it correct to say that Vuyo is paid 3 times as much as Zinhle? Explain. Alright, E. So when you want to know, like in terms of this one is getting how many times more than the other, what you want to do is to make an expression, right? A fraction expression. The one that we are talking about should be the denominator. Remember, Vuyo numerator as much as Zinhle denominator. The one who comes as much as becomes the denominator. The one that comes first becomes the numerator. Right? So Vuyo and Zinhle, 3:1. So we want Vuyo over Zinhle, which is 3 divided by 1, which is 3 times. So Vuyo is getting 3 times as much as Zinhle. Okay, that's how we get the answer. So let's say, just out of curiosity, let's say it was a different ratio. Let's say it was Vuyo and Zinhle, and you are told that this one gets 12, this one gets 4. How would it have been different to know whether it's true to say he gets 3 times as much as the other one? We do the same. We say Vuyo versus Zinhle, which is 12 divided by 4, which is 3 times. So even if the ratio was given as 12:4, you will see that Vusi gets 3 times as much as Zinhle, because 4 times 3 gives you 12. So whenever you are asked to find what the other one gets as much as the other one, deal with the fraction. Always start with the one who is mentioned first is the numerator, the one who is mentioned second is the denominator. Right. Is it correct to say that Zinhle is paid 1/3 of what Vuyo is paid? So now you can see we're starting with Zinhle and then Vuyo, but our ratio remains in the same manner. So F, we still maintain Vuyo and Zinhle, which is 3:1, right? But now they're saying, is it true to say Zinhle is paid 1/3 as much as Vuyo? So now our ratio is not V over Z, it's Zinhle mentioned first, as much as, meaning the one who comes next, which will be the denominator. So in this case, our numerator is 1, our denominator is 3. There is nothing to simplify, that's 1/3. 1/3. So Zinhle is getting 1/3 of what Vuyo is getting, which is true. It's correct to say. Is it correct to say that Zinhle is paid 1/3 of what Vuyo is paid? Yes. Let's make it as an example. We can continue with our illustration here and say, what if Vuyo had gotten 12? Let's say Vuyo got 240 rand. Let's actually use the one that is given. Let's say Vuyo get 120 rands. So with our working, we know that Zinhle gets 1/3 of Vuyo. So 1/3 of Vuyo means 1/3 times what Vuyo got. 1/3 times 120, 3 ones, 340. So Vuyo will be getting 40 rand. Is it true? When Vuyo gets 120, Zinhle gets 40. That's absolutely true based on what we were given initially, 120 and 40. So that is correct to say Zinhle is paid 1/3 of what Vuyo is paid. So this was a very comprehensive question, and I liked it because it covered everything a lot of things that we wanted. So I want you to do number number 5 and number 6 as part of your exercise. 5 and 6, since we didn't get any exercise in the top, and please write them on a neat paper, take WhatsApp and send it to me. I will need to mark it tonight or tomorrow. Tonight will be preferable. All right, we move on. If you want to do more, I will definitely appreciate that. That would be nice. All right, so now let's use ratios to make comparisons. Let's use ratios to make comparisons. There is nothing new that is coming here. We're just using the same calculations that we're doing now, just to answer it in the questions in a different way. So let's see what number 1 is saying. All right, so they said when you cook rice, you boil 1 cup rice, 1 cup rice, 2 cups water. So we have rice and water, and it's 1:2. So we've just transferred a word problem into numbers. Very simple. It's first thing to do in a ratio format. Now they said little water, little W, it becomes hard. And if you use too much water, more water, it becomes soggy. All right, so how do you know whether it's little or too much? We must always stick to our ratio. It must always remain 1:2. If there's an imbalance, it's either going to be hard or soggy, right? We maintain our balance. So now, say what happens in each case. Is it going to be too hard, just right, or soggy? And explain why. So, our first part, it's saying 4 cups rice. So remember, rice, water is 1:2. Our first question says 4 rice and 6 water. So obviously we need to simplify by dividing by 2. You get 2, you get 3. Now we have 2:3. That's the simplest we can get it, and it's not helping us because we want to compare this with our original ratio so that we know whether it's too hard, just right, or something. So what do? We simplify so that there is 1 on the right side. So alright, I think it's the best to actually just go straight to doing that and not using. So remember, what we have is 4:6. In order to compare these two with the original, it means the rice part must be 1. And how do we get 1? The only way to get 1 is to divide by 4. To get 1 on this left side, we have to divide by 4 on both ratios. So now 4 into 4, it's 1:6 divided by 4. You get what? Divide by 2, it's 2, 3, so it's 1.5. So when you simplify this, you get 1:1.5. So what happens to water if you compared to our 1:2? It means our water here is less. If our water is less, the rice will be too hard. Okay, I hope the maths here was not complicated. It's just 4:6. So you could have done it like this. I did it in my head. So 2 goes 2 times, 2 goes 3 times. So 2 into 3, it's 1 point. So remember, 1 into 10, you get 5. That's how we got 1:1.5. So let's see if we can do B. 7:14. The only way to get 1 on the first part is to divide by 7. You divide by 7. You get 1:2. So this one will be just right because it's exactly equal to our original ratio. Let's look at part C. Part C says 5 cups of rice, 12 cups of water. 5 rice, 12 water. Again, we want to have 1 at the beginning. So 5 divided by 5 divided by 5. You will have 1:2. 5 into 12, it's 2 times. Remember 2 into 20, 4. So it's 2.4. So when you compare with the original ratio, which says 1:2, you will notice that there is too much water because we need 2, we have 2.4. So when it's too much water, it becomes soggy. We look at D. 3 cups of rice is to 7 cups of water. We divide by 3. We divide by 3. You get 1 is to 3 into 7, it's 2 times. Remainder 1 into 10, it's 5. So we compare with the original ratio, which is 1 is to 2. So we have again too much water, meaning it will be soggy. And then the last one is E. E says 2 cups of rice is to 3 cups of water. Again, we want to remain with 1 here, so we divide by 2. So we divide by 2 there. So 1 is to 1.5. We compare with the original ratio, which was 1 is to 2. So here our water is less. So it becomes too hard. Alright, I hope I'm not moving too fast, and even if I do, just pause the video, rewind, and come again, and then you get the gist of it. As you watch, please just make sure you check if there's any questions that we need to go through. So here you are going to do number 2. Exercise 4, you're going to do number 2, and you can choose any other one. So now, before we go to rate, we're done with ratio. Before we go to rate, we will just take a small water break. All right, we're back to ratios. We start with rates. So ratio was about sharing in a certain portion, sharing between 2 people, 3 people, whatever the number of people, with a given portion. Now when it comes to rate, it's just an extension of ratio, where we're saying how many times per hour, per minute, per person, like that. So let's look at this exercise as our introduction to rate. So we start with rate. All right. So it says, if the cost of 3 kilograms of sausage is 105 rand, 3 kilograms, what will 5 kg of sausage cost? Ferial chooses to answer this question by first working out what 1 kg of sausages would cost, and then multiplying by 5 to work out what 5 kg will cost. Is Ferial correct? What will answer be? So definitely it's exactly the same thing that we're doing in ratio. So let's see if that is true. So like we are saying, we are told 3 kg equals to 105 rand. Now the question is, how much will 5 kg cost? So that's the question. So here, if we know what 1 kg will cost, if we want to know what 1 kg is costing, so how do we get 1? It means if we want to get 1, we divide by 3 here. We also have to divide by 3 on the amount. So 1 kg will be 3 into 10 is 3 times. Remember 1. 3 into 15, it's 5 times. So 1 kg is 35 rand. So if 1 kg is 35 rand, what about 5 kg? So definitely for 5 kg, we have to multiply 35 rand, which is for 1 kg, multiplied by 5. 5 times 5, 25. Bring down 2. 5 by 3, 15 plus 2 is. So 5 kg will cost 175 rand. So Ferial is correct the way he approached it. Okay. So based on that, let's attempt okay, there's 1, 2, 4, there's no number 3. We attempt number 1 and number 2, and then you do 4 and 5. So let's start with question 1. A says 3 kilograms of apples cost 39 rand. So 3 kg equals to 39 rand. So the first thing, before we do any of this, we ask the question, what does 1 kg cost? So 1 kg will be how many rand? So remember, in order to get 1 kg, we have to divide by 3. So we divide by 3, because 3 into 3 will get 1. So 3 into 39 is 13 rand. So now, first question says, what will 6 kg cost? So 6 kg will simply be 13 rand for 1 kg multiplied by 6. 6 by 3, 18, 8, bring down 1. 6 by 1, 6, plus 1, 7. So 6 kg will cost 78 rand. We go to part B. What is the cost per kilogram? So we already have the cost per kilogram. The cost per kilogram is per kilogram. Per kilo, meaning 1 kg. Kilo is 1 kg, so it's already 13 rand. We got it by saying 39 rand divided by 3. We go to C. What will 5 kg cost? So we know already that 1 kg costs 13 rand. We want 5, so we multiply by 5. 5 by 3, 15. 5 carry 1. 5 by 1, 5 plus 1, 6. So it's 65 rand. Pretty simple, huh? Let's see if this question is complete. Oh yeah, it is complete. It says, during a period of very heavy rain, the water level in a certain river increases at a rate of 8 centimeters. So there is the rate each hour. So we know that it's 8 centimeters for every 1 hour. Each means 1 hour. 8 centimeters for each 1 hour. That's we've taken this and brought it into a statement. We've taken that, brought it into a statement. If it continues like that, by how much will the water level increase in 24 hours? So in order to reach 24 hours, to make it 24 here, what must happen to 1? It means you must multiply by 24. 1 times 24 gives you 24. So your hours are going to multiply by 24, so which means your water level must also multiply by 24. So 24 by 8. 8 times 4, 32. 2 carry 3. 8 times 2, 16 plus 3, 19 centimeters. So this one will also become 192 centimeters. So they said, if it continues like this, by how much will the water level increase in 24 hours? It will increase by 192. Water level increase by 192 centimeters. So all starts from the rate that we are given. This is the rate. And our rate, you can write it in as an equal to, or to say per hour, but pair is a bit difficult to use now when you are doing your calculations. So always write it in the form of this equal to that. Let's see if we can apply that same reasoning. It says a luxury ship cruises at a constant speed of 140 kilometers is to 4 hours. So they said we are dealing with a ship now. It cruises at 140 kilometers every 4 hours. It takes 4 hours to reach to hammer 140 kilometers. So now copy and complete the table. So look at the table. The table has got our distance and it has our time in hours. So our first one that we're given 4 hours is 140. So we want to know each hour what is the distance. That's the first thing to know, because hours are the one that are 1. So we want to know, in order to make this one, in order to make it 1 hour, what must happen? We must divide by 4. So which means we must divide by 4 here, meaning in 1 hour 4 into 14 is 3 times. Remember 2 into 20 it's 5 times. So it means this ship every 1 hour is covering 35 kilometers. So now it becomes easy to know that here is 35. After 2 hours it becomes 70, meaning 35 times 2. 35 times 3 it becomes 105. 35 times 4 is 140. 35 times 5. Okay, if you're not sure, just come and do 35 times 5. 5 by 5, 25. 5 by 3, 15 plus 2, 17. So 175. 210. Ah, no. It's no longer following. From 5 it's not going to 6, so it's 35 times 10. 35 times 10 is 350. 35 times 20 it's 700. 35 times 20. So remember 20 is 2, so we first put a 0. 2 times 5, 10. 0, bring 1. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So that's how we complete using a rate. Using a rate. So you do number number 4 and 5. So we've already covered part of writing a ratio as a single number when we were talking about how to say, do you get 5 times as much as the other, or something like that. So let's see. Calculate the ratio height over width for each of the mirrors. So we just do 2 mirrors. Then you do the rest. they said height over width, so it's clear. We do have any numbers now? Alright, these questions, exercise 7, unless we are using exactly the same here, but it's not exactly the same because these things are, this mirror in that one is different, it's different from that. So the truth is, we don't know, we have no numbers here, so we can't work out these questions. Okay, question 1 we can't work out, we don't know what is the width, we don't know what is the height, so we can't use these because that's not part of the exercise, so we leave it alone. If the ratio height over width is 1, what shape is the mirror? So let's see. So this one we can't do it because there are no numbers. We need value here. We also don't have, so we can't do. We can make up our own. I think that's the best. Let's make up our own numbers. So if we assume this is 20 centimeters, this is 10 centimeters, this is 18 centimeters, this is 12 centimeters. So now we can calculate. So height, it's 20 divided by width, it's 10. We simplify, we get, cancel that, 2/1, which is 2. What about this one? It's 18/12. We simplify, we know 3 goes into 12, 6 goes into 12 2 times, 6 goes into here 3 times. So we have 3/2. We know 2 goes into 3, 1 point, remember 1 into 10, it's 5. So it's 1.5. That's the ratio. So if the numbers were given, this is how the answers would have been. So you do number 2 and 3. Now we come to the last part. So gear ratio, don't be like worried that okay, there's gear ratio. No. It's simple. The same way we're doing is what we're going to be doing now, right? What we're just doing is the same way we're going to do now. When there are gears, you need the small gear to link to the bigger gear, so always the small gear will be in the ratio of the bigger gear. There's nothing new. So let's just go straight. I won't even bother you with all these tools, the what, front gears, pedal. It's not necessary. It's just ratio as we were talking about it. So we're going to just choose. Okay, let's start with number 1. Okay, you will do number 2, I will do number 1, because they are done. So they said a chain is on the front gear with 24 teeth and the back gear with 8 teeth. So front and back. The front has 24, the back has 8. Right? That's the calculating the ratio. So 24 is to 8. We simplify, we divide by 8. We get 3 is to 1. So that's the ratio in its simplest form. Let's look at B. How many times will the wheel turn when the pedals turn once? Okay? How many times will the wheel turn when the pedals turn once? Remember, on a bike, the bigger one and our chain goes to the smaller one. So pedals are always here. Pedals are always on the front, and then the wheel is the one at the back. The wheel will be somewhere here, right? So they is saying how many times will the wheel turn this wheel when the pedal turns once, right? So when the pedal turns, remember, when the pedal turns, remember the pedal is 24 teeth, so the ratio is 3 is to 1. So we want to know when this one, remember, front is to back, so we know it's 3 is to 1. So for the wheel to turn, in other words, for the wheel to turn, this one, the pedal must turn 3 times. So for the pedal to turn 3 times, and then the back gear would turn once, and then the wheel would turn once. But what about when we want this one to be only once? Yeah? We only want the pedal to turn once, not 3 times. So it means the wheel will not turn completely, but how much will it turn? So in order to get 1, what did we do? We divide by 3. So we must also divide by 3. So we know when the pedal turns once, the back gear will only turn 1/3. So which means also our wheel will turn, therefore wheel turns 1/3 times. It means only 1/3 of the wheel will move, not the whole revolution. Right? Now what if we say, if we put C and say how many times will the wheel turn when the pedal turns 18 times? So again, that's our makeup question. Our ratio is front, which is where the pedal is to back, which is where the wheel is. So 3 is to 1. So if this one goes to 18, the pedal 18, how many times does the back turn? So how did we get 18? It means we multiplied by 6. 3 times 6 gives us 18. So we also need to multiply by 6. So it becomes 6 wheel turns. That's how you always look at these things. So I want you to do, so that's the marks the end of our lesson. I hope it was not too long. Let me now write your exercises. That marks the end of our lesson. So pick one from each exercise. Where there's only one left, you do one. Where there's more left, if you want to do more, that's up to you. And then take a picture, send me on WhatsApp. I hope I explained to you in a nice way, and I hope we can work together. Thank you for watching today, and talk to you after you watch this video.